Okay, so the theme of the forum, it mimics the same theme of the high-level political forum, which is on towards transformation towards resilient societies. So we're looking at six goals. We're looking at goal 6, which is about water and sanitation, the importance of having access to water and sanitation. We're looking at goal 7, which is about energy. Affordable, reliable energy services for all. We know that energy is a huge problem for Africa. We have many of our population and communities that are without access. So we're trying to see how we can best deploy energy services, clean energy services for the majority of our population. We're also looking at goal 12, I think, which is on production. Consumption and production. In other words, that when we produce and we consume, we have to do that in a sustainable manner. We're looking at goal 11, which is about cities and settlements, and it's about the resilience of the cities and the settlements, whereby we're basically saying that if we do not look after our ecosystems, and we do not ensure that these are functioning, it would also affect our settlements. And also we're looking at, not directly, but there are problems in Africa related to rapid urbanization. This rapid urbanization means that we as people are not able to service communities in terms of basic services, water, sanitation, energy. And so we're trying to see how best we can address all of these goals. And of course, we're looking at goal 17, which is about partnerships, because we're saying that the 2030 agenda is about a bold agenda. It's about transformation, but this transformation cannot be achieved if we do not partner properly. So the partnership aspect in terms of working together as UN agencies, working with communities, private sector, civil society, if we do not have those kind of strong partnerships, if we can't leverage on that, then we're not going to be able to realize all the goals. Well, this being a debate that is highly prominent on the UN agenda, I think the partnership starts with UN agencies, first of all, trying to understand where do our different comparative advantages lie. So we want to understand who is doing what. We have a value chain, and on that value chain we need to slot in to be able to support each other. So that's the first type of partnership. The second partnership is that this is not a goal that any UN agency can address or can implement. This is a goal that member states would have to implement. So the partnership with member states, because they're the ones that design and formulate policies. And if we have to ensure that we're arriving at sustainable development as a goalpost, we need to also talk to our member states. The public sector is important, but it's not the only stakeholder. There are other stakeholders, so we have to find ways of upgrading our interactions with civil society. Civil society is almost like a litmus test. They are the moral conscience. They are on the ground. They have direct experiences of some of the problems we're talking about. They interact with society. They are ambassadors in many ways. So we need to also be able to talk to civil society. And private sector, we can't arrive at the transformation that we're seeking if we do not bring into account innovative financing. So the way in which we can sustain and finance these goals will mean that we have to dip into private sector sources of funding as well as domestic resource mobilization. So these are all important stakeholders. Mechanisms per se, there are different agencies that are talking together. We're talking to member states. We have agencies that are working directly with member states as well in terms of the implementation of the Agenda 2030. We have what we call the voluntary national review. That's also very important. It's again a way for us to begin to assess how close, how far are we in terms of arriving at these goals. So these are different kind of partnerships that are emerging from different directions within the UN, but also more broadly speaking with member states and NGOs as well. Well, we start from a premise that these two agendas, are very synergistic. Of course, there might be tension in some of the goals between Agenda 2030 and 2063. But our premise is that Africa is the only region that is called to implement these two agendas. And therefore, we don't want it to seem like a burden. We don't want African countries to feel that, oh, we have this and we have that. We want to basically start building these synergies, these transition points. And I think there are many. So our goal now is to see how we can encourage member states to not just speak the language of Agenda 2030, but to also embrace the language of Agenda 2063.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.